So today we are going to be talking about advocacy. I am Deanie Barron, and this is the Policy Skills Library for BCU. We are SLWK 606, Policy, Community, and Organizational Practice number 2. The professor is Adam McCormick, and it is July 5th, 2021. Advocating for others using support coordination, a guide for social work professionals. What is advocacy? Advocacy is defined as being persuasive or backing a particular cause. What are the steps in the advocacy process? So there are several. Let's start with cause. Determine for whom you are advocating. Who do you want to advocate for? Outcomes. Determine what you would like to see change as a result of your advocacy efforts. Your target audience. Determine who you are trying to appeal to in order to bring about change. Whose attention are you trying to get? Let's talk about some more steps in the advocacy process. Strategies and tactics. What actions will you engage in to solicit the consideration of your target audience? What you going to do? Evaluation. Solicit feedback on how well your advocacy efforts accomplish your goals. Let's talk about the types of advocacy. There are several. Self-advocacy, an individual's ability to advocate on behalf of themselves. Systems advocacy advocates for the changing of laws and policies that affect how communities live. And then there's individual advocacy, advocacy that advocates on behalf of a few people. It can be both formal and informal. Informal advocacy is advocacy on behalf of a few or more people that are family or with whom they are already familiar. Formal advocacy is advocacy that is usually provided by a company that will give financial reimbursements for staff to advocate on behalf of a few people. Why is this important? Why do we advocate? Well, we advocate to enhance the lives of others who are less fortunate, disabled, or otherwise unable to advocate for themselves. Good stuff. What is support coordination? Case management, and how can we use it to advocate? Well, support coordination is also known as case management. It is a service provided by the local community service board to give access to services to those with developmental or intellectual disabilities. Examples of service include in-home services. Now, in-home services is service that's obviously provided inside the home, but it assists a person with a disability with ADLs, activities of daily living, such as bathing, cooking, cleaning. This service provides verbal prompting, hand-over-hand assistance to support the person in living a life like everyone else. There's also consumer-directed services. Consumer-directed services is a service provided inside the home. It can be provided outside the home as well. The family will hire on their own employee and be the employer. It will be paid through the Medicaid waiver, and they will get to pick their employee, and that employee will provide services inside the home as well. That will be able to cook for that person, or cook with that person, I should say, support that person in, again, ADLs, activities of daily living, such as bathing, cooking, cleaning. That person would even sometimes do those activities for the person. The difference between in-home services and consumer direct services is all in-home services are generally provided inside the home. Consumer direct services can be provided inside the home and outside the home, and they actually will complete the ADLs for the person rather than sometimes with the in-home worker, generally will only provide prompting and structuring for the individual. Lastly, another example is agency-directed services. Sort of like consumer direct services, however, the consumer is not the employer. The agency is the employer, and the consumer is not required to locate their own employee. The agency will locate the employee. This can be in the form of personal care assistance, where the person is responsible for turning and positioning the individual, washing the individual, cleaning for the individual, and ensuring that the individual eats. The difference between consumer-directed services and agency-directed services is that the consumer, for consumer-directed services, must find their own employee. In agency-directed services, the agency must find the employee for the family. I know I said a mouthful, but there are a plethora of services that a person who receives support coordination and case management services has available to them. Case management is a type of individual advocacy. It is a formal type of individual advocacy as it advocates on behalf of some people where staff are paid for their advocacy services. That staff will be the support coordinator and case manager, which can be used in the term can be used interchangeably. Case managers link clients to services, manage the effectiveness of services, and monitor satisfaction. Case managers create individualized service plans that are person-centered yearly and support the client in meeting milestones and goals. Case managers evaluate, monitor, connect, organize, and assess for potential client needs. Everything that a case manager / support coordinator does is person-centered. Let's talk about some social work considerations. Social justice is an ethical consideration for advocacy. Social workers should challenge social injustices. As support coordinators, we are the eyes and ears of the client, advocating for their needs and changing service providers when they report they are dissatisfied. We advocate for policy changes and for clients to get services. Each client supported by a support coordinator is linked to a Medicaid waiver, which is awarded based on need. As a social worker, you must advocate for your client to obtain a slot and retain a slot on the waiver. It would also help if you advocated for more slots to be awarded each year so others in need can gain access. Now, there are case managers that do go above and beyond and appeal to the General Assembly to have more waiver slots available so that it opens up access for more individuals to receive services. Now, let's break down how this works. So, when a child is in school, generally around the age of 6, a teacher may notice that there's something wrong. Maybe the child is not holding the pencil properly, or maybe they're not catching on as fast. Maybe there's some issues in their development that the teacher is observing. She would send that child to a school social worker who would then test the child or have them tested to see if they had any additional needs. Now, some of those needs could be covered by the IEP that is given in school, but that child will also be eligible for services through what is called the Medicaid waiver that is given by the local CSB. The CSB would assign a slot number, meaning they will be placed on a waiting list based on their need for services. The higher the need, the better number that you will receive for the waiting list. Why this is important? Support coordination is important for advocacy because everything that a support coordinator does is person-centered. It must be directly tailored to that person. It opens them up to a plethora of different services. For example, if you have a person who does not communicate with words, they may need some assistive technology. The support coordinator would advocate for that person to have an iPad with communication apps that would support them in communication. The support coordinator could advocate for the waiver to pay for PECs. So, for example, a PECs would be maybe some cards where there are pictures, so the person would want to turn on the TV. So maybe they will point to a picture of a remote control, and so the support coordinator would advocate for them to have those communication devices. Support coordinators also, um, you know, advocate for clients to have things such as wheelchairs and some medical equipment that is not paid for by Medicaid or has been denied by the Medicaid insurance. So support coordinators are very important in advocacy. They are the voice of the clients who sometimes cannot talk, sometimes cannot walk, and are otherwise unable to be heard. So this is very important to social work, this is very important to policy, and this is very important to advocacy. So make sure you're out there advocating for those who are less fortunate and who are unable to be heard.